Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. I am very excited to welcome our guests to see you today. But before I do, I want to thank some people that we always thank. We want to thank brassandwinds.com. They are always in our corner, especially when we need musical instruments for our students. Brassandwinds.com. They'll be able to take care of all your needs for you. Give them a call. We are Truer MU, the truth about music. You can watch interviews with fascinating people. You can watch presentations about music, or you can take courses and learn things that you never knew you needed to know. Without further ado, I want to talk to you all about our guests today. Now, those of you that follow our channel know that at different times I have interviewed Liberty Devitto and Rhys, both drummers who worked with Billy Joel. That's what they have in common. One of our faithful viewers said, why don't you ask the two of them on at the same time? And I said, that is a great idea. So they both were kind enough to say yes. And let me tell you a little bit about who they are. Rhys is a New Zealand drummer who, since moving to the US in 1970, has played with such artists as Hoyt Axton, Freddie Fender, and Billy Joel. Liberty Devitto is an American rock drummer who is best known for his work with Billy Joel's touring and studio band. He has also been a session drummer on many projects and leads frequent workshops around the country. Liberty and Rhys, thank you for coming to be on our show together.
Well,
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks. Rhys, I'd like to start with you. What kind of kit do you tend to like to play? Let's for the drummers that are checking us out.
Well, I've always been a Ludwig aficionado. So when I got together with Billy, I got the opportunity to try out these shells called Blaemire shells. And I had a set made, and I had the Ludwig hardware put on them just to, keep myself aligned with Ludwig. So Ludwig has been my choice. Got that from Ringo.
Yeah. And generally a full comp. What's on your kit? Anything special, or is it just the standard stuff?
No, it's the standard hardware. The Blaemire kit, of course, the shells spun glass fiber, and I decided to get them to have a different sound from my Ludwigs and see if I could get a more harder, louder sound. So that's why I went with the Blaemire, to try and see if I could have two different kinds of sounds: the wood shell sound and the spun glass sound. So that's me and Ludwig's forever.
That's great. What about you, Liberty?
Well, Rhys, I have to tell you that the Ludwig is a great drum. They make a great drum. That's why I started out with Ludwig. I use Slingerland, Ludwig, all those. But right now I use a company called Liberty Drums. Believe it or not, it's a boutique company out of England. They're made in London, and and they sound great. I love them. I use 8, 10, 12. 14 and 16 floor toms, and they have a great sound. They're a great company, but they don't make hardware, so I have to use Tama hardware, which I really like.
Yeah, okay.
And Sabian cymbals, and Evans heads and ProMark sticks.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Liberty, I want to ask you a question now. What do you think a drummer's role in a band should be? I mean, we think it's obvious the drummer is going to pound the drums during the thing, but some people think drummers are only timekeepers. Some people think that they're the expression. What's the drummer's role?
Well, the drummer's role is to actually get people up off their butts and to keep the whole band united and focused into the song, to keep them together. That's our job. We drive the band. I believe, and I'm sure Rhys will agree with me, that a band is only as good as the drummer. You got a great drummer, you got a great band. And by the way, Rhys, I just want to congratulate you on the live long live. How's it called? The new CD that you guys have out. Fantastic.
Oh, thank you, Liv.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank you for this opportunity to be with you, and the inspiration that you are to me. And so it's indeed a privilege for me to be with you, pal.
I have to say that people always say, well, who are your teachers? What are drummers you loved and stuff like that? Well, I had to fill big shoes, and it was Rhys's shoes that I had to fill. When I saw Rhys, and I hear him play live, I realized that there's a lot of similarities in our playing. You know,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
played with
yeah,
Billy. It's difficult to play with a piano
yeah.
player because he's all over the place, you know, and we had to keep him, you know, together.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's right. And it was intricate stuff. And Lib, when I, got to hear the string drum for the first time, I was just absolutely blown away. And first of all, I was blown away by you and Richie and Russell and Doug. God bless him,
yeah,
because that ensemble was really the ensemble that Billy was looking for the whole 4 years that I was with him. And between you guys and Phil Ramone, uh, they got what Billy needed.
yeah,
You know?
definitely.
And
I
so,
mean,
yep. And so it was just flawless to me. And I went, yep, this is how it's supposed to be. And when it comes to filling big shoes, well, Liberty's got them.
well, I remember seeing you guys. I think it was in Staten Island is when I came out to
Yeah, it
see
was.
you,
Yeah.
and I
How do
remember.
I remember? Yeah.
How do you
How do
remember
I
that?
remember?
Yeah.
So freaking nervous.
Well, I remember like going to myself like, well, what? This is great. What's wrong with this? You know, Billy. Doug used
Yeah.
to tell me about Billy Mania and how he would start Piano Man. I didn't even know there was a beginning to Piano Man. Said he just played on the piano. You know, and when I heard that, it
Right.
was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew nothing.
Yep. So, but I knew that you were a great player because of the strength when Doug came into the band, and you and he have a wonderful history together, and
Yeah,
and so and I knew from his wonderful abilities that when you paired that with Billy's, that all you guys, Al Hertzberg is from your particular culture, the Long Island culture,
right.
and I had a little education into it in Australia before we came here because we were tending to do a couple of Long Island songs,
Right,
and that was all inspired by Vanilla Fudge. Okay,
right,
so
right.
so I knew that you guys were heavy weights, man.
Yeah.
Yep,
Rhys,
I
what do
loved it.
you think the
Yeah,
role of the drummer should be in a band?
I absolutely Liberty touched all the bases, and I just wanted to add to what he said. There was a drummer one time that said, a band is only good as its drummer, and that was Buddy Rich.
So
There you
good
go.
band.
Good drummer.
Yeah. Well, so let's see. Rhys, I want to ask you this question first.
Yeah.
Tell me, what has being a drummer taught you just about life in general? Not so much about music, but about how to be a person, maybe how to be a professional musician. What have you learned from behind the drums?
Um, I've learned that discipline is a good thing. I've learned that this is a physical natured instrument. And so, in life outside of being on the drum throne, that is a wonderful contribution to your health and your fitness and your exercising, which is part of a disciplinary thing. For creation in the mind of coming up with a drum part. It's also, to me, very wonderfully physical for your mind. Billy, I found after a while that his physical energy and his mental energy was just incredibly strong. And it's part of that New York energy. Liberty has it too. Doug has it. And so when when you're living that way, mentally and physically, it makes it very easy to tackle the things that life brings to you outside of the stage. So that's been very beneficial to me.
What about you, Liberty? What have you learned from behind the drums?
I've learned that you have to be a little bit crazy to be doing what we did.
That too, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But I
yeah.
like that. It's a good crazy. It's a good crazy.
It's a good crazy. I learned that I did a song with Billy. It's called "I Go to Extremes," and I think as drummers we
Yep.
have the personalities that go to extreme. we can be like
Yeah.
really, really up at one time and then really, really down at one time. And it really helps in the studio when
Yeah.
you're going from a ballad to a big rocker. You know, we change moods so many times that you know,
Yep.
we just have to stay on top of our game. And every time I go to the doctor, you know,
Yep.
at our age now, we go to the doctor more frequently. They always say to me, your heartbeat is very slow. And I say, well, I play drums. And they go, that's a really good thing. You know, like we said, it's very physical to play drums, you know, and it really
Yep.
helps my health and stuff. It's great.
Well,
Yes,
I
it
know what
does.
my next instrument's going to be then, because I'm I need some exercise.
Because you're a wreck.
I'm a wreck.
Yeah, you need
Wow.
work.
Ouch. That's
Well,
true, though. It's
and
true.
and yeah, and if I could just add that to
Yeah.
Liv, the piano is also very allied with drums because it's the melody, but its strength is also being able to play it, you know, as a percussion piece too.
Yeah.
So for Liv and I to have that wonderful relationship with piano and drums, that's what I grew up on, and that became a major influence. And so to me, the piano is mentally and physically a wonderful place to be as well.
Yeah.
And Billy did say in interviews that he was a wannabe drummer. He wanted to be a drummer, and he played the piano like the drums. He really did. I mean, he, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
intricate patterns. It wasn't really just,
Yep.
you know, I mean,
No.
especially in the early
Yes,
stuff, I
rhythm.
can't even figure that stuff out.
Well, it's a percussive instrument.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah, that's
strike
what.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And it's in your hands and in your feet because of the sustained pedals, etc.,
Right.
and the mute pedal. But it's
Right.
also in your hands. So you know, Billy was wonderful at sound checks from the point of view that to try out the piano was, you know, he had a wonderful way of doing things to see how this particular instrument was going to speak. And and I loved what he would block a chord, you know, and make that thing talk, and then play it lightly, and how fast he was when it came to the B3.
Yeah. He always
Yeah.
fashioned
Yeah.
himself as a B3 player. He
Yes.
always, his dream was to be a B3 player in a band in the back, just playing the B3.
Yeah.
That's what he would love to
Yep.
do.
Too bad he never reached his dream.
No.
That's right. It's about getting to the choices,
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
and he got there.
Yeah.
Liberty, who are some of your favorite drummers, either of the past or today?
Of the past. Well, I love Dino Danelli from the Rascals, you know, and Carmine a piece like Rhys said, he listened to Bill Fudge. Carmine blew me away the first time I ever saw him play. So did Dino. Dino showed me that the drummer could be as much focus as the lead singer is, you know, because he was doing these great things on the drums and stuff. And you know, Jim Capaldi from Traffic was another one that I really, really loved. And if you listen to the stuff that I did with Billy, there's a lot of Traffic influence in there. You know, that the 16 the hi-hat, 16 note and hi-hat patterns and stuff like that. The whole
Yep.
that whole thing, very, very Traffic-y. You know, today's drummers, I did love Taylor Hawkins. You know, I mean, it's a shame that he passed away. He's a good friend of mine, and you know, there's a bunch of guys today. I mean, who doesn't like Steve Gadd, and who doesn't like, you know,
Right.
those guys too.
Right,
You know?
right.
Yep.
What about you, Rhys? Who are your favorites?
Well, like Lib, Steve Gadd these days has been the go-to man for the last 10, 15, 20 years now. And so I liked Joe Morello in his time.
Loved him.
Yeah. And my influences were emulating Ringo and Charlie, and having the pleasure to emulate Liberty, and also the pleasure to be able to emulate Ron Tutt. Was I feel like a very lucky man.
We both got to do that. We both
Yeah,
got to
because
do
he
that.
played the studio records before
Yeah.
Billy
Yeah.
yeah.
And I had to emulate Rhys. I played Captain
Yeah.
Jack. you know?
Yep,
I mean,
exactly.
and you
And
know,
it's nice that we can still talk about it.
and if it wasn't for Captain Jack, Billy wouldn't have been played in Philadelphia, which that's the first place he broke. You know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's make sure the
Yep.
audience knows. So Rhys was not heard. Rhys, you were not heard on any of the albums except for one track, and that was Captain Jack, which you were lucky enough to get in there.
Right.
It was session drummers on all the rest. And the only way we can hear you now, we're fortunate in that the Great American Music Hall records have come out, and now we can hear the power of that early band, which is astounding. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to listen to Billy. And I'm really glad you're getting a chance for people to hear you play with Billy now. It's really great. But Captain Jack was your only studio recording with him.
And that new album that they have out, Long Long Live, it's with a bunch of other guys that sing the Billy parts.
Yeah.
And it's with the first band that Billy was with, the band that I saw. And the sound is just beautiful. It's produced great, and it's just a wonderful album to listen to.
Well, so we've been talking about drummers. Now I got a question.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah.
Sorry. Rhys, tell me something. What is your opinion about the difference between a legendary drummer and just a really good one? Because there's tons of guys in bands that you think of, and they're really wonderful, right? And they're great. They're great in their band. And then there's the legendary drummers. What's the difference?
Well, to me, probably the individual and what the individual brings to the drum track. And there is a lifetime's worth of levels of abilities. And at that particular moment, when that red light goes on and you're recording, what a drummer is bringing to that track at that moment is what's going to count and separate us all from the men and the boys and the girls from the ladies. And so it's your unique approach and what you bring to the song that, is one of those things that, people will get it. And that's important because you were successful in, speaking to them through your drums. And so people who can do that, to me, that's a top level.
So if they can speak through the drums, no matter who they're playing with, no matter what the situation.
Yeah, I mean, a soloist is, that's a really good thing because we all attune to a soloist, and so they're bringing their personality to to the performance, and so those who can do that and titillate you as an audience and you get what they're doing.
Yeah.
You don't get what they're trying to do. They're not trying to do it. They're doing it naturally.
I like that.
Yeah, it's great.
Go ahead, Liberty. What do you think is the difference between a legendary drummer and just a good drummer?
Well, like Buddy Rich will be a legendary drummer. Steve Gadd, a legendary drummer. Hal Blaine has played on so many records that I was disappointed when I found out that he was 6 of my favorite drummers. But there's other drummers that are in bands that you really don't know about that are great drummers, which is like Larry Mullen from U2. He's a great drummer, but he won't be legendary because his band will be legendary. Yeah. Rather than these guys that worked in the studio. Dave Weckl will be legendary. People like that really, Steve Gadd.
Vinnie Colaiuta.
Vinnie Colaiuta would be legendary. Yes. Gene Krupa, legendary. You said, Joe Murillo, legendary.
Yes. Yeah.
These gentlemen will be teaching future generations when you listen to them. If you like rock and roll, you'll go back to figure out, like when we talk, me and Rhys are talking now about these great drummers, but they might just know us from Billy Joel, and they'll go back and study, like, who is Joe Murillo? They put Joe Murillo record on Dave Brubeck, and they'll get blown away. Like, oh my God, this guy's so great,
Exactly.
Legendary.
Yes. And I hope that continues on as the technology evolves like it's evolving, that, the younger generations sustain all these great players like Liv and all the fellows that we're talking about, so that it's forever with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought up technology. How has technology changed the job for each of you?
Well, for me, it made me wait for Rhys to get on.
Okay, so Rhys took a little while to get on the movie.
I knew that performance would be difficult for me.
I'm going to release just that part of the video in a separate video.
Yeah, right. With Billy, when we started to use technical stuff, I remember stuff like breaking down, and Billy used to say over the microphone, when you live by technology, you will also die by technology. It's that kind of thing. Sometimes you're in the studio and you're getting a take and you're in the middle of the take and the engineer says, the computer just dumped, you have to start again. It's like, it's not like old tape, the tape player's going, it's different. There's good parts about technology and there's bad side of it.
Yeah.
What about how it's changed the sound of the drums? I mean, for me, especially in the 90s, it's particularly hard for me to listen to 90s recordings. The drums sound very artificial, no matter who's playing them. I think it's gotten better, but of all the instruments, the drums suffered the most from that 90s compression thing.
Let me say this too about me and Rhys.
Yeah.
When we recorded, we had to play the song from the beginning to the end.
Right.
You can take anybody now and sample a bunch of fills. Somebody could just play like 4 bars of 2 and 4, and
you've got your track
together. They put it together on a thing. So you don't really have to be a drummer anymore. Like we had to start from letter 1, all the way to the end of the alphabet before the song was done.
Right.
Place to play through.
Yeah. So, and Lib, if I may add to that, the technology sampling, where I don't know about you, but I struggle to want to sound good, to have a really good snare, tom, kick, cymbal sounds, and so I went to all the great players that we've listened, that you and I've listed, to get to their place in sound.
Right.
And then it was, well, now we can sample that. Rhys, do you want a sample of Lib's first tom sound?
Right. You can get that.
And then so you times that by hundreds and thousands of sample sounds. And I thought it was robbing us a little, actually, from our our endeavors and hard work to try and sound good ourselves.
Yes, it definitely has. And I've been sampled on Billy songs, but
yes,
of course,
you have.
Billy owns the work that you did. So he makes the deal.
So that's where your control stops.
Right. Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about Billy. That's what you both have in common, and you've been very gracious to talk about each other and how you emulated each other and admired each other. So I want to get a little more critical and talk specifically, not critical in a bad way, but critical in a listening way. Liberty, what do you hear as the differences between the early Billy band and the band you were in?
The early Billy band and the band I was in, the difference is Phil Ramone. That's what I think. It's Phil Ramone. Phil taught us how to play in the studio. He saw our raw energy, because I was balls to the walls playing, when Phil came to see us at Carnegie Hall. And, and I saw Rhys. When I saw Rhys, he was very controlled. I was kind of like crazy and out there. And Phil took us in the studio and he said that I want you to continue to be the rock and roll animals that you are, but we're going to tone it down a little bit. We're going to get it under control. That's what we didn't have in the beginning. We didn't have control, and Phil taught us control. So that was the difference between us and Billy's songs got better and better and better. He got better at writing,
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rhys, what do you hear as the difference between the band you were in and the band that eventually became Billy's, standard band?
Well, the Libby mentioned control. That's a good word because Billy didn't have a Phil Ramone to be able to recognize that he could let it flow, and Phil's control would be just to let it be delivered.
Right.
We were not in control from the point of view that it still wasn't a band that Billy wanted the band feel, groove, and sound. He didn't want the studio musician thing and the production, how to get a hit record with a solo singer songwriter, and then you know build a band around the track, etc., and then put them out there to put a band together and go out there. Um, so, so for us, it was rotating players, and so it only ever got settled so much. And so when Billy went back to New York and Lib did the Stranger album, that's when I put the needle on the first track. That's what I heard that Billy was successful at. He had gotten that control.
You got to remember that Rhys was involved with Billy on the development side of things. When when the company was developing him, the only time we overlapped, me and Rhys, is on when we did Turnstiles. We were still in that development stage.
Yes.
Then Stranger came next, and that's when Phil came in and just took it over the top.
Yeah.
That's right, pal. Yep.
When I interviewed you both, and for folks that don't know, we have interviews both of Liberty all by himself and Rhys all by himself, lots of them. Please feel free to check them out. But the question I forgot to ask both of you was about rehearsing with Billy. I'm curious to hear your takes on what it was like to work the songs up in rehearsal. That's something I haven't heard much in any interview.
Well, I know as far as performing live, Billy hated to rehearse. That was job security for us for a long time. But in the studio, Billy would come in maybe with one or two songs complete. The other stuff, he had just ideas of what he wanted to do, and he would run it past us. And if it could fly with the band playing behind him, he would go home and finish the song, and then come back the next day and we would record it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the way we did all those albums.
But preparing for a show, not so much?
No, the rehearsal was a drag. No.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
What about for you, Rhys? The same experience?
Everything ditto, Libo. Everything ditto. Yes, I could count on one hand, I think, the times in my 4 years that we rehearsed.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And when we did rehearse, after we played a bunch of songs that we and Billy really liked, then we would start, okay, we better rehearse the Billy Joel songs.
Yeah. Go
ahead.
When we did sound check, we never played Billy Joel songs. We always did like Beatles.
That's where I was going.
Yeah.
And sound check, no, we were doing Beatles, whatever Billy came up with. That's what we were doing. So, well, we better do one of the songs from the album.
So I think some drummers would hate that. I imagine it attracts a certain personality to the band if the drummers really, you got to have a little of that jazz energy. I'm not sure how it's going to go tonight, and I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's it. That's what you do. I mean, we got to a point where we would walk up to the stage, and as we're all walking out to the stage, the band, we'd sing "Hi ho, hi ho." It's all
and when we would get to the Atlanta International Airport there, Adam, we would be in delirium because it's the first flight that we're going to connect, and we're walking down the stairs and along the hallways at 7 a.m. and there are thousands of people walking past us to get on their business flight for the day, and we would in march step, Brian Ruggles would have a whistle, and in march step, we'd be marching down the hallways and corridors to the next gate, whistling, the Bridge over River Kwai theme.
Yeah, right, right.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, Rhys, what are you up to these days? What projects would you like to let us know about that you're doing?
I'm, I'm not doing a whole lot. I've been working with Jan Brown, who is a wonderful singer-songwriter in the country and western bluegrass field, and so the last few years I've been doing sporadic stuff with her. And since COVID, I really actually I allowed COVID to let me not play.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's purely this that I just wanted to really play the Joel songs again. And so in going what I've been going through locally with bands and what have you, just money stuff, has allowed me to kind of like focus a little more into Billy's realm, because technology has allowed that, and the wonderful success that Liberty gave it, I'm the beneficiary of that. And so I'm loving that, Cold Spring Harbor is kind of still there in its own little way out there in the world. And, I'm indebted to Lib for that, partially. And so, so I'm not hawking any, I might do a book.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I did during COVID.
Copy and Liberty again. You just
I did the book.
I'm just following. Those are the best shoes to be putting on, man.
Yeah.
Liberty shoes.
Well,
Yes.
Liberty, what are you doing in your shoes?
Well, right now, we Richie and Russell, we have the Lords of 52nd Street, because that's the name that Phil gave us on the 52nd Street album, and we do all the the songs like from what we did live after following up from Rhys, the songs we did then, like Billy the Kid and all that kind of stuff from those albums. And I just got a list. We're playing in Philadelphia on Friday night. And Richie just wrote me, he goes, "We're doing Captain Jack in Philadelphia." All
right.
Yeah. So we're going to do that. And, I do that. I got my other band, the Slim Kings. We do all original material. Not a whole lot of work with that, but, it's fun. It's with young guys, and it keeps my brain going. And I just wrote a children's Christmas book that's coming out for sale in October. You can pre-order it now.
Well, how do we find it?
Fantastic.
I don't know.
I don't know. Do you have a website?
There's that technology again.
Come on now.
Yeah, it's on my Facebook page. It's there somewhere. Yeah.
So folks can find you on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah.
And by the way, the project of Long Time, which we did in 2013, that's still floating along with David Clark and Elio Pace from England. And so on the media, that's kind of what's going on in my life when it comes to, if I should quote the word, my life.
My life.
Yeah.
Go ahead with your own life. Well, we ought to give a shout out to the Billy Joel Completely Retold page, which has been a great place of centralizing and reintroducing Billy to the world. It's been a great boon for him and his music. I knew the resurgence was coming, and I didn't know exactly how, and this is how. It's given us a chance to really listen to all sorts of recordings that were never available, and it's been great. So I want to thank you.
Bravo, Mike Stutz.
Yeah. Mike Stutz, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you,
I got a
Liberty.
story. Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that where we did the longest time video, that thing where we get old and we were young, at Pratt University, I didn't realize it was there, and I live like 5 blocks away from Pratt until I saw Mike's video that they went into school and did the same poses and stuff. I didn't realize it was Pratt University.
Even you are learning about you.
I am learning about me.
Yep. That is part of the phenomenon of being being with Billy is, there's something every day, and it's all good.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's exciting. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is, man. It really is.
Here we
I'm
are
very-
sitting here after
Yep.
how many years talking about
Yeah.
Billy and the music that we created.
Yeah. And Lib, I love being able to kind of inform people that Billy has a unique scenario. He's on a plateau all of his own, just
Yeah.
from the point of view of Madison Square once a month as a
Yeah.
house gig, and it's his backyard, and and he doesn't have to do an album.
No,
Because all the good stuff is there from you.
it's there from both of us.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it too.
You started it. You started the race,
Yep.
and you handed me the baton, and I ran with it.
Yep. And boy, am I privileged that that you were able to take it over the top, man. I'm truly privileged.
Well, thank you.
Rhys and
Yeah.
Liberty, thank you both for
Yep.
spending time with me and taking the time to do this really interesting show. I know people are going to love it. Thanks very much. I have nothing else to say, but I really appreciate it.
Good. I'm glad it
Thank
worked
you.
out. I'm glad it worked
Yep.
out.
Yeah.
Appreciate
And thank
it.
you to
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Rhys. And thanks also to you, audience. You made this happen, especially my friend out there who suggested this particular interview. If you have other ideas for us, send them to us. Like our interviews, like our videos, check our other things out. We need to hear from you. Thanks again. This is Adam Cole for Truer MU, and we will see you next time.
Love you, Lib.
I love you too, Rhys.
Good, man.